Hello friends, welcome to this set of videos on writing technical papers. Why is this technical paper so significant? Technical papers are the one to bridge the gap between research and practice. It's called as intellectual exchange platform. So the primary motive of any writing a technical paper is to communicate the new research findings or some frameworks or implementations and the results. It is a way of getting a recognition among the peers or in a research community. So much of importance is given to the technical writing. And many of the universities make it part of their academic structure as well. Let's proceeding with the how what is the flow of this set of videos. I'm planning to take three different sessions. Session one focusing on skeleton of a paper, what to publish, where to publish. As I mentioned, like this videos do not demand any prerequisites. When you have landed on this page, this means that you are interested to learn, and that itself is a prerequisite. The underlying assumption is that you are the first time hearing the word about technical writing, and I'm starting from that point. That is why the first session is planned on a skeleton of the paper, what all important components of a paper, and then this session helps you to understand what to be published and where do I publish. And the subsequent sessions focuses on how do I get a relevant literature. Are there any tools that helps me to do the literature review in a better way? What is the importance of literature review? And are there any various types of literature review? Yes, we have various types, which we'll be covering in the next sessions. And finally, once I am ready with my project or implementation or the findings, how do I draft it? How do I restructure it? And what are the ethics? And how do I use AI tools ethically such that I draft my paper, and how do I check for the plagiarism or a plagiarism? So this will be covered in the session 3. This is how the session is planned. Let's proceed. This session outlines how does a paper look like, what sections should be there in a paper, how long should a paper be, how long and deep each section of a paper to be composed of, and where to publish. If you look at the paper structure, on the right hand side, you will see something which is called as Hourglass Model. It's more accepted model of a paper structure where it defines you about how much should be the introduction section. The size matters. I mean to say, the breadth you can see here, that means more general introduction. That means what is already known to the audience. You should start from that point. So, which should be very broad, followed with literature review, how people have solved such kind of a problems or similar problems, and what are the existing gaps. If you see here, we are trying to move from generalization to very specific. When you say like gaps identification, it will be in the form of some research questions or objectives. So once you are clear with this research objectives, you can employ whatever is your novel methods, algorithms, or the materials that you have employed to get the results. You can describe about it, followed with results. Results are very specific to the type of implementation that you have done or to the project that you have carried out. Followed with discussion section where it should be able to highlight the new knowledge or the new findings that you are able to get through this exercise. And a good paper is the one which connects the discussion section with the gaps identified. Followed with the conclusion, and future scope. That means I am moving from general to specific in the top part of your funnel, and from that point, I am further results will be very specific to the kind of problem trying to address. Followed with, I'm trying to move towards a generalization. I mean to say that I got results in a particular context, how I can generalize this results to a larger context. So, in order to help you with this structure, I have considered three papers as a reference. I have taken three different levels of paper. Let me show you the first one. This is a first paper which was published in a transaction. I'll tell you what is transaction, what is journal, what is conference in the coming slides or in the coming videos. Okay. So this was one of the paper. Okay. So this was published in one of the outlets, IEEE. So as you look into it, there is one abstract section here, right? So some of the publication outlets or conferences or journals, they demand structured abstract. Structured abstract means the abstract is nothing but the summary of your entire work, okay, which is again further segregated into different sections like abstract, uh, usme, what is a contribution, then what is a background, then what are the research question or research questions that you're trying to address, what is the adopted methodology, then what are your findings. If you're trying to write like this, it is called as structured abstract. So followed with some index terms. What do you mean by this index terms? So these index terms will be very helpful. Somewhere it is called as index terms, somewhere it is called as keywords. Okay, when somebody wants to search a paper, if they type these keywords, they will be able to find your paper. There might be n number of papers with the same keywords. It will pop up all those papers. So choice of these index terms is very, very important while you are writing a paper. Next is introduction. As I said you, this is the first section of the funnel where it should be broad. That means you are trying to familiarize the reader about what is already existing. This is a channelizing, making the reader to go towards the research questions. So this will act as a setting a platform or positioning your paper. And in the introduction section, there is a written like what is novel already, right? What is novel and what is the contribution of the study? To keep it pinpoint, some of the authors write it at the introduction section itself. This is followed by the literature survey, literature review, or relevant literature or relevant work that is carried out in that area. So if you observe, only half a paper is introduction section, followed with the literature review. It is almost one page. You are trying to position your article with reference to the theories and frameworks which is already existing and which is well accepted by the research community. Then research question. Then comes your methods, methodology or algorithm or the implementation that you have carried on. Then followed with the findings section. See, look at this. The end till findings, right? I have completed in three pages. The remaining part of it is focused on discussion section, which means that so the findings which was very specific to the particular experimental setup or a condition, I'm trying to generalize this in the discussion sections. As you can see, like the page number 3 to 7, it covers only the discussion section. So when you are targeting a journal or a transaction like publication outlet, so your discussion section should be like this. It should be more of broad. It should be able to generalize your results with the general context. Followed with another important thing is conclusion and future scope, and followed with some references. References I'll deal with it in the coming videos in detail. So coming to the next paper, this was a conference paper where, unlike that journal paper or a transaction paper, what I showed, I do not have a structured abstract here. It is just a paragraph which is going to give you a summary of the entire work. And the remaining section has introduction, literature. Here it is called as relevant works or related works. Then followed with methodology, whatever is your proposed pipeline, then some results. And look at this. We have stopped at this point. Okay, that means the results were very specific to the particular context. Let me go to the third paper. This is another prestigious conference paper. Here also, the abstract is in the form of unstructured. That means there are no separate sections in the abstract, followed with introduction, related works. Then this is a proposed architecture and followed with the results. And these results are trying to get generalized for different things. Maybe for 3D classification or different contexts for a different applications like shape decomposition. So it is applied for a several contexts. So this is how I have shown you three samples of the paper where they are at different levels and of course the different context. Let me go back to the slide. So where you had observed, right, if you are targeting a conference paper where you can stop at this point where till results you can come and focus more on the results and close that logically. But if you're targeting a journal or a transaction, so again, whatever is the specific results that you have got, you have to move it towards the generalization. I just now showed you all three examples, right? So we are able to cover now how does a paper look like, what section should be there in the paper, then how long should be a paper be. So typically, if it is IEEE, right? So it will be accepting 7 to 8 pages of double column format. Whatever the paper I showed you, so the they were all the IEEE format papers, right? So where to publish? I said like there are different publication outlets, which can be journals, conferences, book chapters, preprints, and magazines. They are all at different levels. Same. Where should I publish? Right. So it depends on what is the research maturity that I have. Okay. Is your work complete and polished? Then journal or a transaction would be a right publication outlet. Is the research still ongoing, but I have arrived at a partial results or a full results, and the results are yet to be stabilized or the work to be still polished? Then I can target a conference. There are different advantages of putting it for a journal or a conference. Right. There are some high impact journals or conferences that can provide you greater visibility to the world. So publishing in a very prestigious venue can enhance your profile, right? So, but on the other hand, the transactions and journals typically take longer time when compared to the conferences, where the conference has deadlines. So, what is the take home message is the visibility, the credibility, and the impact of the journals and conferences should be taken care to decide where to publish. So that's what I was speaking about. So I have to take care of work maturity, relevance, impact and prestige, time, and the last important thing is indexing. What is this indexing? So indexing means there is a database or searchable database where I can have all the work getting published, and the stronger the indexing is, it will be able to attract the higher quality submissions as well as the readerships. Right. So what are these indexing? Indexing could be, right, one of the highest thing is Web of Science indexing. I always target to publish in a highest indexed journal, which is Web of Science, which are further, which can be SCI indexed, Science Citation Index. SCI stands for Science Citation Index. SSCI stands for Social Science Citation Index, and AHCI, Arts and Humanities Citation Index, which are all part of the WOS indexing. Right. The other kind of indexing that is possible is Scopus indexing. The other could be PubMed. So based on disciplinary things, also I do have several things. Say example PubMed, it focuses on life science and biomedical literature. Then Scopus covers a wide range of disciplines and provides, even in terms of citation metrics, it gives how many people have used your work, right? How many citations you have, all those things will be given, right? The other could be Google Scholar, which is freely accessible data set that index all the scholarly works across various disciplines. Irrespective of the discipline, it gives you the indexing. The other very specific discipline specific could be IEEE, especially meant for engineering, technology, and computer science, and PsycInfo, which exclusively covered psychology and related fields, ERIC, education related papers, then Medline, which is meant for specialized medicinal literature part. So that means I have to decide now what is the area that I'm working on. Based on that, where you want to position your work, right? Based on the work maturity, based on the relevance and scope, based on the impact, based on the time that much you have. Say suppose, as I mentioned, the journals do not have time. That means there is no deadline, submission deadline. But typically for the peer review process, it takes longer time. And further, it depends on the journal where you're trying to target based on the number of issues they have it per year. Some of the journals or transactions, they have 12 transactions every year. Some of them have four, some of them are limited to two. So based on time and based on all these criteria, you have to decide where you have to publish your work. So now we have covered all these points. Okay. So typically in this video, we learned about how a paper look like, then what section should I write in a paper, and how long should I write a paper. So each sections, how much should I write and where to publish. So I hope you are in a position where to decide to write your first paper or at least motivated to write your first paper. So hope you will enjoy the next sessions videos. So thank you for watching. See you in the next video.